Hi, this is Judah Ross with Bastrop Real Estate Group. Today we're going to do a video on Bastrop, the city versus the county. It can get a little bit confusing because Bastrop itself is the name of both the county and the city, which is the county seat of the county. Now, to start out, we'll go to the city of Bastrop. And here in relation to Austin, we're about 30 miles or so east of Austin along 71. It's a relatively small city. It's about 10 square miles, and it's located in the heart of Bastrop County. So it's right along the Colorado River here by the bend, and the borders are basically the state park over here. It goes up 95 a little bit. The top of Tahitian Village, the river over here, and then it goes out to about 21,969, at least along the highway. The ETJ, or extraterritorial jurisdiction, it extends a mile out, and then there is an additional one that kind of goes along the highways, but we're not going to get into that right now. So this is the city of Bastrop. It's about 10,000 people, 10 square miles, located in the heart of the county. Now, if we look at the county, it's significantly bigger. The county is just under a thousand square miles. I think it's about 900, and it borders Travis County over here, Caldwell County, Fayette County this way, and there's a little bit that touches Williamson County as well. So, what's the difference between living in the city and the county? Well, one is going to be really the type of living. So the cities, more dense, as cities tend to be, 10,000 people and 10 square miles. The county is about 100,000 people in in 1,000 square miles. So it is going to be, let's see, should be 10 times the population density in no, or it would be 100 times in the county, in the city. So life is going to be different in a number of ways. One is again, Bastrop itself is still fairly rural, say compared to Austin, but um, the it's going to be more dense. There's a number of subdivisions over here. So you've got your downtown area in the city. You've got a few different subdivisions. This is Riverside Grove over here, Hunter's Crossing. These are older ones. Some newer ones we have are Pecan Park over here and Bastrop Grove, located off of 304. But you're going to have all of the shopping area, the commercial is all located primarily within the city. So you've got your HEB supermarket. We have a Sprouts, other grocery stores coming soon. A ton of restaurants located both downtown and along the commercial district over here. Home Depot, Lowe's, Tractor Supply, everything that you need. Most of it's going to be located here within the city. So, for example, I live over here in Riverside Grove. I've got, even for a smaller town like Bastrop, I've got, I can walk to HEB in a few minutes. I can bike downtown in a few minutes. I've got 5 different hardware stores that are within a 5-minute drive of me. And I've got all of the different restaurants available here as well. Film Alley, Buc-ee's, of course, is located within the city limits. All the entertainment, a lot of the schools are over here as well. The city also, the proximity to shopping and to eating is a great benefit of living within the county, of living within the city. Another difference. So, again, you're in the county. There's 1 or 2 restaurants down here in Red Rock. There's a few in Cedar Creek, but you're generally going to be driving into Bastrop. If you're on the far edge, you might be going into Austin, but it's going to be a drive. It can be 20, 30 minutes to go out to eat or to go to HEB. Um, Another difference, so we talked about shopping. Another difference living in the city versus the county is going to be services, and I'll talk about emergency services first. So, um, I guess depending on your um, um, depending on what type of place you want to live, the city has its own police department. So to give you an example, and the city will have in the 10 square miles has about 5 or 6 officers, usually on patrol. The county will have maybe 10. It's the sheriff's department, but we'll have about 10 sheriff's deputies. For maybe 15 at most for the entire county. So if you're calling 911 for the police, you're going to get a much faster response if you live in the city. That's not to say anything negative um, about the sheriff's department. I've had good experiences and hear great things about. Again, I'm not looking to get in trouble, but about the law enforcement here, it's a pretty close knit community. They don't have a lot of time to waste even for things like traffic violations. So they're not playing a lot of games, but there are issues they have to deal with. But again, if having emergency services close and a quicker response, you're probably going to get that in the city. I'd say the same thing for fire. So I used to volunteer with the fire departments, and I'm familiar with the different ones here. They're all really good. They do a good job. Bastrop has had issues with wildland fires in the past, and we have some amazing people both in the city and the county. The way it works, the city has its own funded fire department, so you'll have like 3 or 4 firefighters. Always on staff 24 hours a day, and they're within a few minutes, because the city's pretty small. They're within a few minutes of any um, house within the city, and they're dedicated solely to the city. The county is made up, and I'm right now I'm talking about um, just the city of Bastrop. There are two other cities. There's Elgin, Smithville, both great places to live. Smithville's a little smaller. Elgin's a little bit bigger than Bastrop. Um, and I would say the same thing goes for them in terms of emergency services, shopping. Bastrop still is the economic and commercial center really for the whole county. Elgin's catching up on that. But the same thing will go for Smithville and Elgin, and I'll do other videos on those communities as well. But going back to emergency services, so Bastrop, the city, has its own fire department. If you're anywhere within the very large county, you're going to have what's called the ESD, or Emergency Services District. So basically, the western portion is ESD 1 and the eastern portion's ESD 2. It's made up of full-time professional firefighters as well as volunteers. Great people, but just the fact that they're spread out, their budget and their staffing, their manpower has to cover a much larger area. It's going to take them longer to get to places. So, safety wise, if that's a concern for you, again, that's an advantage that the city of Bastrop has. Same thing will go for emergency services like ambulance. Now, we are in the process of. It was just voted in this past election to create a third emergency services district, which is just going to cover ambulances and will cover the whole county. In my opinion, this is a positive development that is much needed and is going to be a big benefit to everyone here, despite the fact it will raise taxes a little bit. But the firefighters are oftentimes the first responders, even before an ambulance. So in the city, you'll have um, 3 or 4 certified EMTs, oftentimes a paramedic. They'll come with the fire department um, for say a heart attack, an accident, something like that, where you need emergency medical services. And then the county and the city both are using Acadian now for ambulances. Again, that's going to change soon. So we've talked about the commercial shopping. We've talked about emergency services, and I think the city edges out in both of those. Now let's talk about taxes. So obviously, someone has to be paying for all of those employees, and it's not just emergency services. There's a whole city government here. So the county definitely has a leg up if you're trying to lower your taxes. In the county, the tax rate is approximately 1.55%. So again, that means whatever your assessed value is, and then you take away your so you have your appraised value of what the county thinks your property is worth. Again, you can argue that through comps, protest your property taxes. I always recommend. And then you'll have things like your homestead exemption, which is going to limit how much they can raise it. You'll have other exemptions over 65, agricultural exemption, etc. You'll have your assessed value. And then your property taxes are going to be a percentage of that. So if your home's worth $300,000, then in the county, you'll be paying 1.55%, approximately $4,500 for in annual property taxes. If you're in the city, it's slightly higher. It's about 0.4% higher, so it's 1.96. Used to be 2.1, but they just lowered it. Although again, property values have generally gone up, so that it does somewhat balance out. So the county is 1.55, city is 1.96. Again, that's for the city of Bastrop. I don't know offhand Smithville and Elgin, but we'll cover that in another video. Now, do keep in mind, if you're living in places like the Colony, they're going to have and Addleton, they're going to have what's called PIDs or Hunters Crossing as well. PIDs, MUDs, these are bonds that paid for infrastructure when it was developed, and that's usually rolled into the tax rate. So your taxes may be higher there. For example, the Colony, even though it's in the county, their tax rate's about like 2.35%. So taxes, county definitely has you beat out, especially if you get 10 plus acres and you're able to get an agricultural exemption, or if you're living in the area that's within the Houston Toad area, and you become part of that, you can get, even with less than 10 acres, you can get an agricultural exemption, where you're only paying for your house and an acre property taxes, and you basically don't have to pay for property taxes on the rest of the property. Restrictions. So the city has in Texas have zoning power, so they can say what is going to be built where. County doesn't have that. County doesn't really have a ton of power. They can regulate things like septics, your driveways, whether you're in a floodplain, subdivision. But other than that, they don't really have a ton of power over what you're going to build. Utilities are also an issue, and we'll talk about that in a second. But so the city can say, we want houses to have this much setback, and we want to have this design. They can go as far as to say what type of colors you can paint your house. They can decide how many stories are going to be built. There's a lot of power that comes with zoning authority. Now, that can be a negative. It can also be a positive, because if done properly and with the right intentions, that can really help preserve the feeling of the community, which means it can preserve property value, whereas and that comes along with code enforcement as well. So, in the city, if you have a neighbor who's dumping, I don't want to say dumping waste, but let's say they have, cars parked in on their front yard, dead vehicles there, you can call code enforcement and they can cite them. The county doesn't really have anything like that. So, um, it just depends on how you want to live, what type of neighborhood you're looking to be in. Again, if you're in an HOA, even if you're in the county, then they can still have that type of authority, and it can help preserve the look and feel and property value. Utilities, if you're in the city has its own um, water company, wastewater, power as well. So there's a benefit to that. They, if your power goes out, your water goes out, you'll have the city's generally pretty responsive. It's some ways it can be easier, some ways it can be harder to deal with. If you're in the county, the utility providers are Aqua for pretty much all of the county, and um, and Bluebonnet for Aqua's for water, obviously. Bluebonnet is for electric. The they do have control over subdivision as well. So if you have 10 acres and you want to split it into two or 10 1 acre plots, um, you will have to get permission from Aqua from Bluebonnet. That can be a process. They've been somewhat slow lately. And then voting. So, with um, the benefit of living in the city, the taxes that you have to pay, you do have um, the responsibility and the ability to vote for the city government. And while it's really only covering issues that are going to happen in the city is definitely the center of the community and is where a lot of the growth is happening. So if that's a community that you want to be a part of, um, then living in the city is going to give you that benefit. Um, Again, I would say there's pros and cons to both. They're both wonderful places to live. If you want to be close to nightlife, you want to go out to eat all the time, you probably want to be in the city or right next door to the city. If you want to have a few acres and live a more rural life, have a homestead, well, that's gonna be really hard to find or really expensive living in the city. So you'll probably be in the county. But either way, it's a great community. I buy and sell properties in both the city and the county all the time, and I'd certainly love to help you as well. So you can give me a call. It's Judah Ross at Bastrop Real Estate Group. My cell number is 512-998-1957. Just give me a ring. I'd love to show you some properties, meet up, grab a coffee, and talk about the process and get you a great deal selling your property or buying your property. But that's it for now. We'll do other videos like this in the future. Please like and subscribe, of course. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment below, and I will answer. Take care.